Hello there, my name is Louis Wieland, and for the last 30 years, I have published the official relocation guides for Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. They do carry the name of the First Multiple Listing Service on the masthead. The magazines are on the First Multiple Listing Service website for access by realtors to forward to read and learn about Atlanta and to forward to their clients who are buying houses and also commercial real estate. There are 4 different versions of the magazines or editions, one for Atlanta, one for North Fulton, one for Cobb, and one for Gwinnett. They are available for realtors to pick up at the 3 FMLS stores. One is in Duluth, one is in Cobb County in Marietta, and one is in Roswell. We do put the magazines in all of the realtor offices for distribution by agents to their clients buying commercial or residential real estate. They are published annually. They do carry the Cobb Association of Realtors name on the Cobb version as well. We work closely with FMLS and the Chambers of Commerce and the Cobb Association of Realtors to distribute the publication to all the home buyers and businesses purchasing commercial real estate. And the magazines are trending more lately to include a lot more commercial information, as is FMLS, by the way. A lot of commercial listings are being listed in FMLS. FMLS is growing. We have I'm not actually employed by them, but I do work closely with them. They have 65,000 agents who are members and using the website and having access to the magazines. I'm also a commercial realtor with KW Commercial, operating out of the Keller Williams North Atlanta office. If I can help you with any of your commercial real estate, please let me know. My area of specialty is multifamily and land. I'm more than happy to help you. And that being said, we're introducing a friend of mine today and interviewing Gabe Chatham. He's in our office, kind of upstairs, and he's Vice President of Chathambilt Homes. Gabe, great to see you, and again, of course, and have you on the show and learn a lot more about your company. We did interview your dad last year, and he said to interview you because as the producer was looking through your website, he said, gee, Gabe seems to be the new face of the company, and because you're throughout the website. But just to give you a background on Gabe, he's Vice President. He's also an associate broker with Keller Williams North Atlanta. He graduated from Furman, which would not be controversial with all of the football bowl game picks and selections, since they're not in that and not in a bowl game this year. He has a master's degree in real estate development. He also has a Master of Divinity in the Southeast Baptist Theological Seminary. He's past president of the Greater Atlanta Home Builders Association. He's on the board of trustees of the Arch Foundation at the University of Georgia, which I don't know exactly what that is. We'll ask you to help us understand what that is. So he's quite an impressive guy that's done a lot. He's been in the real estate industry now for 23 years. So he really is an expert, and great to have him on the program. Gabe, give us a little background, please, on your great company and your family and their involvement, because it is truly a family-owned and operated business. I don't know, you're not publicly listed or anything. It's all family-owned, right?
Not yet. Yeah, Louis, not yet. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the introduction. Certainly a lot of kind words there. And it's actually Dad who graduated from the University of Georgia, so he served on that Arch Foundation as a trustee for many years. And Furman, while not in a bowl game, actually is in the playoff for the FCS level, so they're still playing. So we're pulling for the Paladins this weekend. I think they're the final 8 teams, so we'll see where that goes. But this is our 75th year as my grandfather started in 1948. building a home for him and my grandmother after he returned home from World War II. And as he was building this home, he had gotten a little bit of property from some of his in-laws and was going to, pay him a little something once he got the house complete. But another couple who, similar story, had just gotten married. The husband was also returning from World War II, was interested in the house, and he told him it was not for sale. But that couple was persistent, and finally, granddad and grandmother had decided, okay, we'll sell this house, but under the condition that they could live in the basement because they needed to get out of their in-laws' house. And so they started the process again with another lot next door, and 3 times over this happened. And at the time, granddad was working for Fulton County, laying out bridges and roads, doing some surveying, kind of basic engineering. And he thought, well, maybe there's a chance to make a go of this. And so he had talked to a couple of friends of his from the farm. He grew up in primarily Northwest Fulton, which was all farming area. He grew up as a sharecropper. So for him, wasn't a lot of money saved up from him or his family. But his father said, well, Howard, I've got $500 here that if you can use it, won't you go for it if you think you want to make this business happen? And so as he describes, he got a secondhand truck and some secondhand tools and got some of his buddies from the farm that he'd grown up in and around, and decided to let's try to see if we can make something happen here. So as that progressed from 1948 into the mid-50s, he started having some inventory and realized that, I need somebody focused on selling these houses, not just myself. So at that time, he formed a new brokerage company called Northside Realty. And, he had 1 or 2 brokers, but he had hired a guy named Ed Isaacson to start running the company for him shortly after he started it. And after that, Ed's son, Johnny, when he graduated from the University of Georgia, I believe in 1968, opened the East Cobb office for Northside Realty. And Northside became the largest privately held real estate company in the Southeast and maybe beyond, but we certainly know the Southeast. And so, for our family business, it's, home building has always been primary, but development goes hand in hand with that. And then, just from learning from granddad, brokerage goes alongside of that as well. So brokerage has always been a part of what we've done on the real estate side. So really what dad has done over the years, when he graduated from University of Georgia in 1972, he had already grown up in the business, but decided to go full time, and some of that was by choice, probably some strong push from his father Howard. And so really they began to build and develop, and dad perfected what we think of now as the builder program model of saying, let's not necessarily build on every lot that we develop, but let's try to diversify. Let's bring in some other builders that we know and trust, and then we can still hold on to the marketing at the end and have a chance for that real estate sale as well. So by kind of taking that model, it not only helped many of the smaller volume builders in our markets, but it also helped diversify. So when you go through some of these downturns, which we've all weathered a few of, that really set us up for success down the road. So now in our 3rd generation, I'm the oldest of 3 boys, myself, Gabe, Miles, my middle brother, and Lance, my youngest brother. And I can talk more in a minute kind of about how we try to divide and conquer what we do along with some other key family members. But that's kind of the quick snapshot of 75 years of building, developing, and selling real estate in North Atlanta.
The company has received the prestigious Southern Living Custom Home Builder of the Year Award, which was presented at the annual Southern Living Home Summit. This is according to your dad, what he said on your website. Out of the awards we've been honored to receive throughout our 70-plus years of building homes for families in our communities, this is the one I'm most proud to hang on our walls, said your father, David. He said that he further stated that his father, your grandfather, would have turned out 100 years old to this year and would have been very proud to see what his family have accomplished. Further, the company is consistently recognized for their quality and integrity. The Chatham family is North America's most awarded real estate developer and builders. The awards include 2 Louis B. Kanker Lifetime Achievement Award winners, and 5 Southern Living Cornerstone Awards, and 3 Atlanta Family Business Awards, in addition to hundreds of other accolades. And I am proud to be involved with the company that you're involved with, of course, which is the KW North Atlanta, as you are associate vice president there, I guess, and associate broker. So everything about the company is admirable and prestigious, and we thank you very much for being very phenomenal role models for people in our industry and for other builders and businesses. And so what's going on? That all being said, what's happening in the business? Was it you maybe, or somebody told me that you guys could build homes 24/7 and still not meet demand. I think that was you when we met recently. So I want you, maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit for our viewers.
Sure. You mentioned a couple of those awards that we've been honored to receive. And as Dad has, kind of jokingly said, if you hang around 75 years, you're going to bump into a few of those awards, but we're thankful to be honored in those various ways. And so, much of our time outside of the actual, blocking and tackling of business is spent with other builders, other folks in the real estate business, much of that through the Greater Atlanta Home Builders Association. And I'm actually was selected to serve on the state board, so I'll be president of the Home Builders Association of Georgia in 2 years. So I'm serving this year as secretary treasurer. So one of the benefits of spending time in those places is you really hear, what's going on both from the high level economists nationally and locally, but you're also hearing, from the boots on the ground day to day, what are other builders seeing? What are we hearing from lenders? What are we hearing from the people that we really trust, in our real estate businesses? And so we see a lot of optimism, going forward. I think the areas that we focus on the most, we think of, Forsyth County, Cherokee County, North Fulton, even in Gwinnett, there's, new households being formed. There's a lack of inventory. Obviously, it's that age-old balance of, inventory, but also rates, ability for people to buy. But demand is certainly there. And so we're certainly bullish on the future, but we also just haven't lived through some downturns. And I'm thankful that I've, heard the stories from Dad and Granddad to know, even when I wasn't around, some of those stories of weathering the storms, that you want to be cautious. You don't want to take too many major chances. And I think many of the lenders that, we may partner with also have that experience. And so I think, we went through a downturn that all of us remembered. And, if you're listening to this today, thankfully you by the grace of God, we survived it and we're here. But we learned that, there was an enormous number, thousands and thousands of, what we call, vacant developed lots in the market. And today we simply don't have any of that. So we don't have the concern that things would go south on the home building front and there would be an enormous number of vacant lots to gobble up. So, development standards, regulations only get more challenging and more costly. But again, we've, kind of adapted as we've gone over our history. So we're encouraged by what the future looks like, but so much of it too is partnering in local communities with the elected officials, whether it's the city council or the county commissioners, and helping present our case for the need for quality housing. And much of that is built on the reputation of our history. Again, that goes back to Dad and Granddad as much as, my brothers and I would like to think we're at least a little part of that. It's really based on their reputation. So obviously we're seeing a total number of closings and transactions a little bit slower across all of real estate, but I think on the new construction front, there's certainly a lot of opportunity ahead. So we're encouraged by that.
Kind of give us a overall macro feel for price trends currently and going forward, and different elements of that, which would include sizes of square feet, land, and areas that are poised for the most growth, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a great question. We see more development of what we'll call ex-urban locations. So many of these kind of sleepy downtown areas throughout the metro area of Atlanta are now coming up with really good game plans of how to create a destination. And so that helps not just drive, maybe it's retail traffic to those locations, but it also helps drive a need for housing. And so we're seeing in many cases, and this is not across the board, but in many cases, more open-minded city councils and county commissions to say, okay, we know the demand is coming. We need what's oftentimes referred as not just workforce housing, but your next couple of move-up markets as well, to say how can we create those opportunities. Now, as we know, land never seems to get cheaper in our market, and so that's a constant challenge. So many key indicators, as you're well aware, Lewis, from your career, but zonings in a particular area, and can that change? Access to sewer, soils in some cases, whether it's buildable soils or soils that will take a septic tank. Those are always factors. But we're again seeing some neat opportunities out there. But again, with land prices going up, development costs going up, the holding period to get things zoned and developed, because that goes longer. That's somebody's money, is tied up in those stages, which therefore makes the product more expensive. So nationally, the National Association of Home Builders gives the stat that it's 24.5% of a finished new construction product. Those expenses are in some type of a governmental regulation fee. So if you think about you're buying a new house, much of that is not in your beautiful quartz countertops or your great energy efficient windows, but a good chunk of that cost, a fourth of it, is in expenses that you don't really get to see and appreciate for the most part. So those are trends that we recognize, and some of those we can work through and overcome, and some of those you kind of just accept and continue to work through. But again, we're thankful for a great local association of home builders and realtors that partner together on some of these issues as well, up to the national level. So I think in terms of trends, we're seeing smaller footprints in some cases, because that's kind of what you can make more affordable, but much more efficient use of space. Just thinking back, for me growing up, we had, enormous entertainment centers and TVs, and you had to, create a lot of floor space for that. We didn't have the framing lumber that we have today, where you can create more open spaces. We're seeing, whether it's the highest price point or the more entry level, more creative ways to do a dining room, whether that's kind of an oversized breakfast room, or something creative there, because we're just, we don't have the need for some of the old school ways of family life. So trying to create more efficient spaces. And I think with our big national and regional builders, they're getting more, creative with their space. And we're certainly seeing it, in the more high end custom and luxury markets. So more energy efficiency, whether that's by regulation necessity or just by choice. I think we're seeing builders want to build that in, because we're having, it's really much more of a savvy purchaser these days, and they want to make sure if they're having to pay up for a product, they want one that has a lower cost of ownership, whether that's the materials that are used, or even energy efficiency when it comes to creating a tighter house that will lower costs on what their utilities are on a monthly basis. So again, we're seeing some, I won't say smart house from the true branding of smart house, but smarter homes from that standpoint, more efficient. And anyway, yeah, so we think there's some really good trends out there, that whether it's entry level or it's luxury, that everybody's taking advantage of.
What's your home price footprint anyway? Is it all over the place, or do you focus on a specific price point, or?
Yeah, for us is Chathambilt Homes. Now this differs obviously for Chatham neighborhoods, because we develop for not just ourselves, but for other builders in the market. But as far as what we do on the custom building side, we're seeing most of our prices at $2.5 million or higher, and so much of that is based on location. So the houses are spectacular, but there's also decent expense on the dirt that we're buying, and the locations that we're at, and also those development costs. But we obviously for us, it's actually we're featured just a few months ago in Southern Living, one of the homes that we built in Alpharetta. But for us, that's really more the focus. We say really every builder has a lane to run in, and no one does every price point or product type well, just because it takes a little bit of focus there. But we realize that high-end luxury is really where we're at our best, and can really provide to our clients what we feel like is the greatest product in the market. But in terms of other things that we develop, we're again, putting really good builder programs together for some high-end custom luxury areas such as Milton and Alpharetta. But even many of the volume builders who want to do larger neighborhoods, we're in many cases putting together deals for them or actually developing for them. Because again, thankfully we get some of the calls maybe that they wouldn't on land opportunities, and so we're able to, again, with great relationships and great experience and reputation, able to try to put some of those deals together for more of the volume players. So yeah, and those price points, I would say entry, but I mean it's laughable. But what we see in the North Metro area, I mean entry is at least in the fours, and if that. So it's a challenge. I know we've seen, just based on what everything costs, we're pushing a lot of qualified buyers out of the market in our North Atlanta area, which it hurts, especially with a lot of those folks that are serving us, whether it's through teachers or public servants. We wish we could create some more of those opportunities. And again, that's where the partnerships with local elected officials comes into play, trying to create those opportunities.
Gabe, I have sold some residential properties in my life, but I don't really focus on that. But I have come into to contact with the concept of pricing on per square foot the basement below surface, below ground, and how do you price that comparison to the above grade? Because price per square foot is a key element or criteria in pricing a home for sale. What is your paradigm on that?
It's excellent, and that is a common question that we get, and we always say it's a great question, and we wish we had a great answer. Especially for the product that we build, oftentimes there is a lot of porch space, which can be as expensive as heated and cooled space, but doesn't count, in terms of what that heated and cooled space looks like. We oftentimes are doing not just big garages, but oversized. It's beyond just a place to store vehicles. There's all the accessories that go on in the life of a family that need to be stored as well. So we do have a challenge with that as far as knowing what that price is. And we may build in one location, and then if we were to cut and paste that home in a different location, there could be a pretty big delta in what we pay to build that house, whether it's local regulation, whether it's site cost, all those types of things go into that. So again, fantastic question, and we get that question often, and we internally wish we had a better answer there. But I think generally speaking, if you can create a basement and finish that space, obviously once the space is there, it's certainly cheaper to finish that than it would be for something above grade that you're still framing out and putting all your mechanicals into. So we try to create value with basements, but strangely we have found, especially in these more, we call them ex-urban locations, the Alpharettas of the world, the closer you get to the downtown areas, many of these buyers want to age in place, and so they're looking to create storage above grade and be able to walk out main level from any point of the house. So we're actually going against a little bit of the trend that we've known for our whole company history and doing some slabs, whereas before we always tried to create basements, but we're finding that buyer's looking more for quality of space more so than quantity.
How big a factor is septic versus sewer connections anyway in the buyer's mind?
It's interesting. I think once you can educate a buyer, they realize septic is a safe option. In fact, we specialize in many of our developments being septic because many times a non-sewer deal is not appealing to a lot of builders, especially on the volume level. I think for the most part, we find pretty good soils in our submarket. That obviously, if you're around water, sometimes that can change things. But there's so many great techniques now with new types of septic tank technology, or even finding creative ways to test soil and find soil that works. Even importing dirt, sometimes can work. So we've gotten a lot more sophisticated there with current technology and studies. Oftentimes the sewered opportunities are more appealing because you can typically do more density. You can zone for density with sewer, whereas on septic, you have to have enough property to create those septic fields. So oftentimes the septic deals are a little more expensive, again, because they would require more property. So as a rule of thumb, those are bigger lots, which therefore are higher price points. But again, so much of it's driven by location. If you're near a downtown area or, in great school district or around amenities people want to be around, you can kind of throw that out the window in terms of value because it's really created in that dirt. But yes, that's one of the first questions, and I know, Lou, you're in the same boat when you're looking at property. That's one of the first questions is it sewered, and what density could be achieved, in a certain location. So that's all part of the initial round of questions that we ask.
In your area, because I know it depends on area, what is the ratio of land value versus the price of the home? And obviously that would, if it's downtown Atlanta versus Milton, that's obviously quite different. But generally in your area, is there a overall kind of target or any kind of yardstick we could use, or give us some kind of sense of direction if that's even possible?
Yeah, well, another great question that's tough to answer. But historically, 20 to 25% of the finished product is in the land cost. But I would say in, again, some of these desirable submarkets that we're in, I think that number's creeped up into 30+% range in many cases. Because again, you're paying for lifestyle, you're paying for walkability, you're paying for access to some of these great downtown locations. Again, if the school system is incredible, people will certainly pay a premium to be there as opposed to across the county line, which may have the same feel of lifestyle, but you're in a different county or city. So yeah, I would say that old 20% rule is maybe a good place to start, just for a back of the envelope kind of discussion, but really it's creeped up into the 30% range, I would say, in many of these desirable locations.
And the thing that a lot of people are talking about today that's changed greatly over the last few years is the concept of smart homes, which you mentioned earlier. Tell us about that concept and how that is affecting your new home construction.
Yeah, great question. And there's so many amazing products now when it comes to smart home technology. So, whether you're entry level or you're, high end custom builder, most builders are typically spending a little bit more on the pre-wire process to make sure that you have the ability to do what you want. And we know that because technology changes so quickly that you really just want to create the opportunity for that purchaser to be able to do what they want to and upfit it down the road. So I'd say the pre-wire is we spend a little bit more time there making sure we have the latest technology and what's behind the wall, if you will, so that they can then create what they want long term. And you can spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some of this, the finish of many of these great smart home products. But again, there's so much great new technology. A lot of it's wireless, so even that can be added without the pre-wire in some cases. And so again, we try to just be forward thinking, know the latest technology, but also knowing it's going to change year to year, and just trying to have the guts in the house that'll be able to support whatever people want to do down the road.
The never-ending question is also new versus resale. In fact, we're having an article on that topic in my next version, our 2024 magazines, and we're a big article on that and the virtues of each. How would you just address that?
Well, obviously, there's we love both types of markets, whether it's resale, and we do. We're always keeping a remodel project or two going, even though we try not to. There's enough family and friends who need a little bit of help here and there. So, as you pull back on some of the existing product, no matter when it was built, there's always some inefficiencies. There's always some products maybe that weren't around when that home was constructed that you'd love to update. So, coming from somebody in the home building business, we certainly think new is best. And so much of that is just because the kind of the minimum standards, again, you may think of the tract builder and think they're building at a terrible level of quality, but the reality is the standards are relatively high for everybody. So you're getting a much better house from a tract builder today than you would have gotten from maybe a more highly thought of builder 30 or 40 years ago. So we really would think that new construction angle makes a lot of sense. And again, you can kind of eliminate some inefficiencies when you're building new. You've got a better floor plan typically. And then all the ingredients, the components that go into it, whether it's engineered lumber that gives you longer spans, bigger rooms or rooms that can have a little bit more of a flexible use, as well as all the great insulation products that we're using. We're using radiant barrier products. We think about how far the technology has come on water heaters. And, so many of our peers are using really good upgraded systems. We're even seeing some people within our home builder association doing, net zero homes. So there's just so much more technology, both from a product standpoint and an install standpoint. So we think new, is really worth that extra amount, in large part because you're just getting such an efficient home that it's going to help your cost of ownership over the long haul.
I'll go out on a limb by inviting realtors who are interested in learning about the new versus used and exactly what kind of work that you do, and to call you or contact you, send you an email.
Absolutely.
And I know you've talked at our meeting in Keller Williams North Atlanta office. You and your dad and brothers all came and addressed our office about construction and your company specifically and specific projects that you're working on. So I will invite any realtors, and I hope you don't get mad, to call you or send you an email. And if they have questions or would like some sense of direction, to give you a buzz. Is that okay? Would that be acceptable?
Absolutely, yeah. And, especially within our offices and our family of offices, we, one of us Chathams is fielding a call every day, trying to help one of our agents, because there's so many fantastic, gifted, experienced agents in our network. But there's some very specific discussion points when it comes to land, new construction, all those kind of things. So we're helping folks literally every day, and that's, there may not be a direct return on that, but for us, we know, helping folks in our industry, especially in our offices and our marketplace, is well worth the investment.
If you're with any other agency, any other real estate brokerage firms, feel free to contact Gabe or me even, and
Sure.
for a sense of direction about a particular house or a particular idea, concept that a buyer is interested in, and just get some ideas from you. So, I mean, you're an expert
Absolutely.
in the field, and I know a lot of agents would love to have you as a resource to run ideas by and get
Sure.
ideas from, et cetera. So, how do they get a hold of you, Gabe, to do that?
Sure. Yeah, the easiest place to go is we got a couple of websites that, for our various businesses, but chathamlegacy.com and then the chathamcompany.com are kind of the two go-to spots, and that's got our contact info and certainly more information about our companies and what we do and the great teams we've assembled in each of those businesses to help us, serve the folks that we're working with on a daily basis.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and very much. It's been very interesting and informative, and thank you very much for coming on the show, Gabe. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lewis.
And thank you for watching, and we will be sending out this program to all the realtors via MailChimp, and it's also on my website, and it's also on my Facebook page, Lewis Wieland. So be sure to check it out. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.